Each and every Monday is $9 Monday at both WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com, when all daily picks packages are priced at only $9, including 5% best bets, normally priced at $35. As an added bonus, any picks packages loaded early for overnight Tuesday or action during the week will also be priced at $9 until midnight on Monday. So make sure to take advantage of getting these $25 and $35 picks for only $9 before the clock strikes 12 and they return to regular price.
Hey guys, welcome in, and a very happy Monday to you here now, January the 9th, 2023. And, well, we've got a college national championship game here tonight in football, but that doesn't mean we don't have a couple of college basketball games as well on the card here. We're going to break a few of them down for you. Not a huge card by any stretch of the imagination tonight, but might be some value plays one way or the other, and here to help us sort through it are three of the best at WagerTalk.com here as we welcome back in Drew Martin in the house, Adam Trigger ready to roll, and Mr. Bryan Leonard here to see if we can't find a couple of best bets on this card here tonight. And Drew continuing to just absolutely crush it, my man. I believe we are now, is it a 10-2 run in sports? Are you just continuing to crush the board here? And that's good because it's a huge week in college hoops and a couple of games here tonight. Do you have anything that's locked and loaded on a $9 Monday?
I do, Joe. Yeah, seeing it clearly. 10-2, 83% run here, and in bounce back mode. Did take a loss just yesterday. So if you're looking to kind of like buy low, also trying to check that box as well. And yeah, got a 3-pack of prop bets for tonight's national championship game. Three that I really like, Joe. Got down on them. So if you like betting prop bets, you know, it's probably the second best game of the entire calendar year to bet some prop bets here, only but really behind the Super Bowl, that being the national championship. And Joe, talking some college basketball here, you know, this is kind of like the hardcore college basketball betting show here. Bryan, Trig, you and me going down and the people watching here, because when we got the national championship game, ESPN puts it on like 7 channels. Like there's going to be no college basketball on because all the channels are for the football game tonight. But hey, we're breaking down the game, so a little side action. We got you covered here. Thanks for having me on, Joe.
Always a pleasure, Drew. It's why degenerates like us have 4,700 different accounts with OTT platforms you've never heard of here, guys. But trust me, we might get the feed right directly from the gym. Why else do you think we're sending Trig to all these obscure-ass places? What's going on, Trig? I know you're leaving little satellites in all of these gyms around the country that you are visiting. Do you happen to have a game tonight or anything on the card on this $9 Monday?
Well, first, the only thing I played so far for today is Georgia in the national championship game. 4% play, gave it out for free. So I figured save you guys the $9 there. And I'll do the same if I play anything basketball. I actually was going to go to the Colgate Army game tonight. The reason I'm not is I'm going out to Ohio tomorrow, and I'm going to Kent State Toledo with Brian Power. So we'll hit Twitter and stuff while we're doing that. Listen, if you're a basketball fan, this is a fine night of college hoop. You got Colgate Army at 7 and New Mexico Oral Roberts at 9. They both should be very good games with 4 very solid teams. So, you know, for some people, if you're not into the college football game, there's still plenty of great stuff on. And like I said, my anything I do today is free. So just give me a follow on Twitter at TopPlaySI. I tweeted out the Georgia play, and if I have anything today in college hoop, I'm going to tweet that out as well.
All right, good stuff there. I mean, it's nice having options in case it happens to be 38-3 at the half. you know that you can switch over and
Hopefully.
there's a little something else going on. I didn't say who, no, Trig, did I? I just said 38-3. What's going on, Brian Leonard, on a $9 Monday? NHL tonight, NBA, of course, college basketball, and the national championship game. Anything ready to roll on a $9 Monday?
Actually, I decided to give everything out. I'm on 2 shows today. I was on WagerTalk today, give out my best NBA and my best NHL plays, and I'll give out my best college basketball play here. It's a small card, obviously. I seem to be on a lot of shows on Mondays, so for some reason that's the worst card of the week. But we'll do our best, and I wanted to say hello to the young guys on the show. I don't get to do many shows with the young guys. It's usually all of us old farts on there, Joe. So I know Drew, he's got a baseball hat behind him with the Florida Marlins, and I just booked my vacation to spring training. So now I can start working on my baseball work. So getting excited for that coming up. But yeah, it should be fun here, although we've got some games that people probably couldn't even tell you what state they're in. But we'll make the best of them.
Yeah, better yet, ask them what conference they're in. That'll be even better here. All right, I'm not sure if I got lumped in a whole old fart thing, but let's go here. Let's kick it off. If we're going to roll into Oral Roberts and New Mexico here tonight. 9 o'clock Eastern time tip on this one. New Mexico hovering around that 5.5, 6-point favorite. 162.5 in this one. You don't often get kind of January non-conference games, especially with some of these mid-majors like Oral Roberts. But hey, these are 2 of the best in the country right now for what they do really, really well. So, Drew, the question is, are you interested with the home favorite laying it here tonight, or are you going to look at a total or even the dog in this one?
Well, Joe, yeah, actually, this is one of the games that I touched for tonight. First off, to answer a couple of the questions coming in, this is Mountain West versus Summit in terms of the conferences. And this is in the state of New Mexico, Albuquerque, in the pit. I believe it's the Enchantment State. The Enchantment State. I could be off on that, though. But what I bet on this, Joe, is over 161.5. Actually, it's even pumped up now, 162.5. And you can see why it got moved up in terms of this total. Both of these 2 teams, very good on the offensive end, and both of them go up tempo here, Joe. So we're going to get a whole lot of possessions. 2 really good teams, at least, if you look at their records, we get Oral Roberts 13-3, and we get New Mexico 14-2. Interestingly enough, the Lobos have dropped each of their last 2 games. So they're going to be at home here in the pit looking to win this one, score a bunch of points. That's kind of where they rely. Jamal Mashburn kind of leading the troops there. Yeah, that's the son of Jamal Mashburn, the former NBA player. But looking at Oral Roberts' side, you kind of said it at the top. We don't get many kind of non-conference games at this point, especially with the travel here. But Oral Roberts scored 74 or more points in 13 straight games. So that kind of speaks to they have that consistency in being able to score. Number 19 in the country in terms of offensive efficiency, and they hit 77% from the free throw line. So 10 straight wins here for Oral Roberts. That's the 5th longest in the country. But it comes back to just the way I bet this, Joe. Both teams up and down the court, both offensive units stronger than the defensive units. I think we get up and over this total of 162.5.
So up and over here, not shocking to hear that. Now, Trig, you are the resident travel agent here of the crew. So I'm not sure if you've ever been to the pit, but from what I understand, I think Ken Palm's got this as one of the top 5 or 10 toughest home court advantages here. Is this? Are you going to give the edge to the home team?
So first, shout out to some of our viewers who live in New Mexico. They've invited me to the pit.
Nice.
If I can't get there this year, I will get there next year. I've already spoke to them. I said if I can't get out there this year, I'm going to get there next year. And this is not this is pretty well known when New Mexico's good and that place is sold out like it was against UNLV this weekend. That's a hot atmosphere right there. That's a top college hoop atmosphere. So I've never been. I can't wait to go. I'm going to just step back here and address why this game is being played. So this is a weird spot. This was not on the schedule. This is a game that was added. New Mexico had a cancellation with New Mexico State for the whole thing surrounding the shooting there, and Oral Roberts had an open date. And props to these two teams for getting together and deciding to play each other because they're both teams that could need this game come March. It reminds me of the old Bracket Buster Saturday. I can't believe they did away with that. That was one of my favorite days of the year as a guy that likes to follow these mid-major conferences when ESPN would pair all the mid-majors together to try to get them high-profile games. So props to both these schools for figuring this out and getting this game done because, again, Drew referenced the records. Someone could need this game come March. And that's, I think that there's going to be a big emphasis on this game for both teams. Initially, I wanted to look at Oral Roberts here because I thought the matchup was good for them catching points. But the concern I have is New Mexico losing again over the weekend. And now you get, a bit of a desperation spot for New Mexico off of back-to-back losses. Not exactly something I love to bet into, especially considering this was a team that started 14-0, and now they come in off back-to-back losses. So I'm going to piggyback the over with Drew. I actually I'm not a big totals guy. I don't really handicap totals. I rarely play them, but his over makes a lot of sense for some of the reasons that I was trying to get to the window with Oral Roberts. First, the concern with New Mexico here is been the defense lately. 84 points they gave up to UNLV over the weekend. Giving up 71 to Fresno State might actually be worse. That team is horrendous offensively. So to give 71 up in the prior game to that team might be worse than the fact that they gave up 84 to UNLV. And then the 75 to Wyoming without Hunter Thompson in the lineup makes me think their defense is regressing toward what it was last year, which was not very good. Oral Roberts is an elite free throw shooting team. And that's one thing that New Mexico will do is put opponents on the free throw line. So I kind of flip-flopped on the side too much to get involved, but I'm going to ride the total here with Drew. I also lean toward the over.
All right, leaning towards the over here makes total sense, Brian Leonard, given the pace of these two teams, and certainly when you have Max Abmas on that team here is one of the all-time lethal scorers in college basketball that we've seen in a long time. But we did see Oral Roberts play another Mountain West team. I think it was back in November or December with Utah, or Utah State rather, and I don't think it worked out all that well for them there. Are you a little worried here about backing them, or is this a totals play for you as well?
Yeah, just everything that was just said by Adam, it's exactly what I was going to say. I was looking to play Oral Roberts here until New Mexico lost their last two games. Now this becomes more of an important game. I thought it would be basically go out and show two teams that like to run, two teams that are very good in the half court offensively. So we'd see a lot of points, and that's going to end up where I'm going to be at. I'm going to be joining the other two guys here on the over. But if you take a look at Oral Roberts, you go back their last 5 games, and a lot of the time when they play conference games, these teams know them very well. So they don't have the athletes, they don't have the talent that Oral Roberts has in many cases, and so they try to slow it down. And if you look at some of the scores, going over just the last 4 games, they gave up 40 points to South Dakota State, 62 to Denver, 71 to UMKC, 89 to Nebraska Omaha, which is the one team that didn't have any problem running with them. So now they're going to go out against a team that they haven't played before and they don't know them as well. And that's a situation where I think we're getting a little bit of a value here on the total because they are coming out of some lower scoring, for them at least, conference games. Now they're playing a team that doesn't know them very well in a very good home, tough place to play. And being in Las Vegas, and I was a season ticket holder for the Rebels for many years when I first moved out here. New Mexico has got great fans. They travel on the road just as well as playing at home. So they're very vocal. They've always been very good in tournaments in that regard, neutral site games. But New Mexico, because of the way they've lost these last 2 games, it keeps me off of Oral Roberts. And just like Adam, I came to the conclusion that the over here was probably the better way to go.
All right, 6 straight overs for New Mexico, 10-5 to the over on the year. Expect some points and maybe one of the more entertaining games on the card here tonight. And we'll go from that non-conference matchup to a little Patriot League action here as Colgate will be taking on Army, and Colgate a 7.5-point favorite right now. Total hovering around that 152. Both teams undefeated in Patriot League play thus far. Army certainly can play some defense. Colgate certainly has no problem shooting you right out of the gym early and often. So something's got to give here. Drew, how are you leaning in this matchup?
Yeah, I mean, something's got to give it. I think it's Colgate blowing them out, Joe. I mean, this is the #1 effective field goal percentage team in the country. This team can shoot 60% from the field on the season. #1 3-point shooting team. So if they're hitting their shots, which they've been doing in the past, I think this is going to be a blowout. So to see this number, what a touchdown, the hook, -7.5, I think it's low. Looking at the Army side of things, this Black Knights team hasn't played anybody, Joe. You look at some of these teams, Loyola, Lafayette, Lehigh, Central Connecticut, New Jersey Institute of Technology. I mean, their wins are against like nobody. I think they absolutely get blown out here. Colgate -7 of the hook is the way I would bet this one in the Patriot League tonight, Joe.
All right, good stuff there. How about it? What do you think here, Bryan Leonard? Because is it a matter of Army just hoping they go cold from 3, or do you think they got enough defense to keep this thing close?
Yep, I'm in agreement once again with my younger contemporary there. As I like Colgate here. Going to the shot quality information here, Colgate is 2-5 in what I consider coin flip games. The last 5 being all the losses. But when you take a look at the post-game win percentages, Duquesne 59%, Delaware 85%, Penn 80%, Vermont 83%, Cornell 63%. So they lost all those games, but they were by far the better team. They just could not hit their shots in those games, and that's why they lost the game. And that gives us a good line here. When you take a look at Army, as you pointed out, this is a team that really, as Drew said, hasn't played very many good teams. They've been pretty lucky in these coin flip games. They've had 5 of them, 3 of them they have won. But in those 3 games that they had just won, Central Connecticut, they win by 11, should have only won 43% of the time. Lehigh, they escaped with a 2-point win, should have only won 22% of the time. And Lafayette, a 17-point win, they should have only won 31% of the time. They did blow out a bad Loyola Maryland team. But this is a squad in Army here that I don't think is very good. And my numbers between these two have Colgate is the far better team. And we're getting a little bit of value because they've lost these coin flip games. Like I said, they didn't shoot well, or the opposition shot very well, which shouldn't usually happen. So give me Colgate minus the points. I think that's the best way to go in this one.
Colgate minus the points here. Trigger, I mean, listen, as good as Colgate is from the perimeter, Army 36-37% on the season. I mean, is this like a sneaky over we're missing here? What do you think we're going to get tonight?
Joe, I'll be honest. The total here is perplexing because this game could go a couple different ways. But I appreciate Drew for not lumping Siena in with the nobodies that they played, because Army, that's probably their best win. Army won in overtime up here in Albany earlier this year. But to Bryan's point, Siena had that game and choked it away at the very end, like almost in inexplicable fashion, to then lose in overtime. So I agree and disagree with certain things that were said. But ultimately, I'm going to agree with the guys here, which this almost never happens on the show where we're all like kind of looking at the same side. But I'm looking at Colgate here as well. First, Army's a very good basketball team. So let's not take that away from them. Jalen Rucker is one of the best players in the Patriot League. And what puts me on Colgate here is the matchup, because I think this is a very poor matchup for Army. So Army, they have a fantastic player in Jalen Rucker, who likes to get down the floor and can beat opponents down the floor. But Colgate does a pretty good job of getting back on defense. Army also likes to compact the lane. They prefer teams to shoot over them, but that's not exactly what you want to do against Colgate, who shoots as high of a percentage from three as any team in the league. The other thing that really kind of makes life difficult for Army here is Colgate really doesn't try to get into the lane ever. They pretty much just it's 1-2 dribble pass. They're only going in the lane to get out of the lane and get an open three, and that does not bode well for the way Army wants to play. So, Army could hang around here if Colgate's cold, which the game is at Army, so you take them, you put them into a bit of a foreign gym, and maybe they get lucky and go cold. But that's the only way I can see Army hanging in this game. If Colgate's shooting the ball like they're capable of, 80.9 points per game, 51.5% from the field, ridiculous. And their percentage does not really drop off when you go behind the three-point arc. They are second nationally, hitting 42.2% from three. That is a horrible matchup for an Army team that invites their opponents to shoot. So I'm with the guys here. I think Colgate probably wins this one going away, and the touchdown is a little bit short.
All right, there you go. United in their Colgate love, which we're going to have to play Army. Let's go to the last game, if we could, here. And this one, how about a little MEAC, Drew? Huh? You got to love this. Coppin State taking on North Carolina Central, who is the favorite here, laying a small number 2. That total is 155.5. And North Carolina Central has been really, really nice to backers here. 8-2-1, I believe, against the number so far this year. They've been handling it. Maybe a little undervalued by the marketplace, Drew, but they are a favorite here against Coppin State. How are you approaching this game tonight?
Yeah, Joe. I mean, you bring up the Eagles. Been a good bet here in the MEAC. I don't know. Coppin State is a team that I've bet to the over a couple times with success early in the season. Of late, they haven't been hitting some big numbers. The totals market in college basketball kind of evolves. And sure enough, even though they go really up tempo, this Coppin State team plays pretty much no defense. Battle of Eagles here tonight. And I just think that usually I just bet Coppin State this past weekend, Joe, and took a loss betting them to the over. So I'm going to pump the brakes here, give it some more time, watch them a little bit more. Are they actually slowing down what their tempo is? And against North Carolina Central, seeing both teams that will go up tempo, it makes me want to bet over again, Joe. But because I just took the loss, I'm going to take this one off, kind of reassess the Coppin State Eagles. I think if they're still an over team going forward. So this isn't a game that I bet as of now, Joe.
All right. Drew's holding off, leaning towards the over. Trig, kind of hard not to. I mean, when you look at the numbers here, 12-5-1 to the over here this year for Coppin State. Is it a totals play for you or a side play?
Well, I don't know that Coppin State doesn't play any defense. It's just they get sloppy at times. And you got to also remember that they've played like 10 bye games this year against like big time competition. So I'm willing to toss their season long numbers out a little bit because what they play in non-conference is very, very different than what they see in conference play. They're an interesting team because, so like, in my opinion, there's no question NC Central is the better and more polished of these two teams. Probably better coach. They have a little bit more depth. But Coppin State has Sam Sessoms, transferred from Penn State, who's averaging 22.4 points per game. I mean, individually, he's probably the best player in that conference by margin. And they've got some other guys that can play. Tark's a really good defender. He can score as well. So, like, Coppin State has some pieces, which makes me a little bit hesitant to bet against them because if they're, if Sessoms is balling out and they're making shots, they can be tough. The problem is they turn it over a lot, and Juan Dixon, Coppin State head coach, pretty much runs this like an NBA team where it's very little scripted offense. It's almost like go one-on-one and, first open shot, they'll take it. It gets a little sloppy, and that's where I think they may have a hard time against a team like NC Central, who's just a better team, better put together, and takes good shots. They're elite from three as well. I think they're 8th in the country shooting the 3 ball. So I lean NC Central here, But Coppin State has been a team that I've more or less looked to back than fade because I do think they have some underlying value. So a very slight lean toward NC Central, laying the small number in this one for me.
All right, NC Central there. I believe they just had an overtime game on the weekend there with Morgan State. Didn't go their way, but they can score. They certainly can. The offense is pretty good. Bryan Leonard, are you looking to back a road favorite in this matchup or go somewhere else?
The only way I would look from the side standpoint would be the road favorite. Take a look at the shot quality numbers, the rankings on the season. We've got NC Central 259th overall, 292nd offensively, 222nd defensively. And that's the strength of both these teams, is the defense for NC Central, 222nd. We take a look at Coppin State. They are 332nd overall, 314th offensively, 336th defensively. They're a bad defensive team, which is why you normally like playing over in those games. Coppin State 6-12 on the season. They've had one legitimate win all season long, and that was that 7-point win against Navy. The post-game winning percentage was 90%, but you go back over every other game they played, and I know they played a tougher schedule. They haven't had a single game where they had better than 41% chance to win it. These coin flip games, they're a perfect 5-0. They've only won 6 games all season long, so they've been very lucky. This is a team that's even worse than what their record states. Mount St. Mary's, they win by 5, 26% post-game win percentage. Tennessee Tech, they win by 5, 24% win percentage. Loyola Maryland, 3-point win, 23%. Madison, James Madison, 7. They only had an 8% chance of winning, and they won that game by 7. Last time out, South Carolina State, they win by 12, only 27% chance to win. Coppin State is a bad team. I know they played some good opposition, but they're not very good. Normally, you'd be looking to play an over in that regard because I talked about how bad the Coppin State defense is, but it's a situation for me where the line is just too high. Central's the one team in this conference, or at least one of the teams that does play a little bit of defense. Even though, like I said, 222nd overall in this conference, you don't see a lot of defense. But this team could give them some trouble in that regard. I lean with the road favorite here, minus the 2, but I like the under a little bit more. I made the total 4 points lower than what we're getting right now, maybe 5 in that range. So, a small card like today on Monday, there's not too many games that stand out. I think the best part here is Coppin State under. In fact, if there is a team total in here, maybe the Coppin State side to play under, if you can find that somewhere. But overall the under in this one is what I'm looking at.
All right, leaning towards the under in that one. And again, not a ton of games on the card here tonight, but some value nonetheless. And we'll go around the horn and see if there is one of these games these guys like a little bit more than the rest. And Drew, kick us off. It is a $9 Monday, which means, of course, all best bets at WagerTalk.com with these guys just $9 tonight. Drew continues to crush it there on a 10-2 run, which means he's got some best bets tonight, Drew, for $9. Don't forget, make sure you visit him as soon as we're done here, guys, and tell us what the best bet for the show is, Drew.
Absolutely, Joe. I'm going with the over in the first game we talked about. Oral Roberts in New Mexico, Mountain West versus Summit here. Both teams top 32 in the country in terms of tempo. Both teams better on the offensive end than the defensive end. Oral Roberts, 74 or more points in 13 straight games. Very good from the free throw line, flirting with 80% from the charity stripe. And we get New Mexico at home, Jamal Mashburn and company, off of 2 straight losses. They're 14-2 on the season. They're 2 losses, their last 2 games. I think they bounce back at home in the pit, Albuquerque, New Mexico. But even more so, guys, bet it to the over. A lot of scoring, a lot of up and down. 162.5. Oral Roberts in New Mexico to the over is my best bet, Joe. And guys, for $9 Monday, I got that 3-play big best bet prop package up and available for tonight's college football. national championship game, TCU and Georgia. 3 prop bets that I really like. So go check it out. $3 a play. WagerTalk.com.
Boom. Go get it, guys. All right. That game's going to land in the 170s. Talk to us here. What do you think here, Trig? Best bet here tonight. Not a big card, but where are you leaning?
Yeah, so I haven't played anything for my clients in college basketball yet. Like I said, you mentioned it, Joe. It's kind of a small board. If I do, I will certainly tweet that out for free, as I said I would. The one play that we talked about that I like the most is going to be Colgate -7.5. I just think it's a great matchup for the Colgate side. They are one of the most efficient teams, in terms of percentage, field goal percentage. They're as good as there is in the country. 51.5% from the field, 42.2% from 3-point range. Those are both second nationally, and they're top 25 teams in terms of points per game, 80.9 points per game. And I think this is a great matchup for them. Army, the way they like to defend, they like to clog up the lane. They prefer team shooting from the outside, but that's what Colgate does as good as anyone. Colgate doesn't really want to go to the rim. They want to get a little bit of dribble, kick, shoot a three. And I think that's, really favorable for them from an offensive standpoint here. From a defensive standpoint, Colgate will get back on defense. It's going to make it difficult for Jalen Rucker, Army guard, to beat them down the floor, which is probably his best asset in terms of, what he brings to the table, that speed to get out and down the court faster than the other team. So I just think this is a tough matchup for Army, a team I do like that's been very good so far this year. But because of that, I think this line is a little short. So Colgate -7.5 is my best bet for the show. I do think that they potentially run Army out of the gym here.
All right, there you go, guys. Colgate it is. How about it, Bryan? What do you think here? Is there one you circled?
I like both the plays the gentleman took. Oral Roberts and Colgate. I'm on Oral Roberts over, excuse me. In Colgate, I'm in agreement on those to be a little different. I took the NC Central Coppin State game under. I'm not going to talk too much about it because we just went over it. I do want to point out that I was on WagerTalk today, and I used my top NBA play, and I believe on like a 12-3 run in the NBA, and my top NHL play, number one the last 5.5 years in NHL hockey. And I didn't have anything really for clients today, so everything is going to be free. No need to pay $9 for anything I've got. So join the WagerTalk today, read that or watch that show and get my 2 plays. And by the way, I don't know if you know this, Joe, but I actually found something to agree with Lawrence Presman on that show. And so I talked about that, and there's not too many times I agree with Pres on anything, but he hit on something that I think could make some people a lot of money if they listen to what he said in this regard. So go back and watch that show and get my 2 plays and find out what I actually thought Pres was correct about.
Just so we're clear, you're not high or anything, right, Bry? So that, I just want to make sure I'm just getting it out on the record, because it doesn't happen very often that anybody agrees with Pres. So that's all right. Let's check out our friends over at the Gold Sheet. And they've got a play tonight that they like. Also in that Colgate Army game, they're looking at the over here in that matchup there. And pretty much the reasons we all talked about while backing Colgate. Number one, an effective field goal percentage, as well as 3-point shooting. Army, though, adjusted defensive efficiency, not great, number 297. But both teams play at a little bit of above average in pace, and those shots will be falling for Colgate, so they anticipate the over, the way to go in this matchup here tonight. Visit our friends at thegoldsheet.com. Great write-ups, guys, and, of course, great analytics and data there for you to use in your handicapping during this college basketball season. All right. So I am going to defer my best bet here tonight to our producer who just celebrated a birthday and happens to be a Texas Southern alum. So in honor of his birthday, the Texas Southern loses to Mississippi Valley. Don't even bother showing up tomorrow, Robert. I'll tell you right now. Give me Texas Southern to get business done here tonight against Mississippi Valley State. The Delta Devils, they haven't won a game since 1986. I'm certainly hoping it ain't tonight against Texas Southern. So there you go. One more time, guys, across the board. We're going Drew Martin over with Oral Roberts in New Mexico today to 162.5. While Trigg is back in Colgate, he'll lay that 7.5. Bryan Leonard, he's going to go with the Coppin State, North Carolina Central under, while also dropping a bombshell that he actually agreed with the press on Wager Talk today. Shocking. I'm going to go with Texas Southern. I'm telling you right now, Robert. And also the Gold Sheet. They're going to go with the over in the Colgate and Army matchup. 152 in that one. But it is $9 Monday, guys, which means Drew, we told you, he's got a 3-pack of prop bets for the national championship game tonight. $9. Go visit his page at WagerTalk.com. Bryan and Trigg all week long, their best bets will be up and available, guys. So make sure you check out those 3-day, 7-day, and 30-day all-access packages as well. Plenty more college basketball on the slate. Tomorrow we'll be back, of course, breaking down some of the three games and come up with a couple of best bets. So I certainly hope you'll come back and join us then. And until then, on behalf of Drew, Bryan, and Adam, we appreciate the time, guys. Best of luck with all the plays tonight. We'll talk to you again tomorrow. Good luck.
Dave Koken turned 70 on January 13th, and we want to celebrate Dave's 70th all week long by offering everyone 7 days of his all-access service for just $70 using coupon code KOKEN70 when checking out on a 7-day all-access pass. That's every play in every sport for 7 days, including any 5% releases for just $70, coming out to only $10 a day. Dave is a legend in this business, with many calling him the GOAT. Despite betting and winning in sports since the Black Sox scandal, he could be enjoying one of the best runs of his career since joining WagerTalk. Look at his lifetime numbers since joining the WagerTalk family exclusively. Number 1 in total profit, number 1 in college football, number 1 in golf, number 2 in NHL, and number 4 in MLB. Just like fine wine, Dave Koken is getting better with age. Happy birthday, Dave, and take advantage of code KOKEN70 and get 7 days for only $70.